If you're a founder on a mission from God, you're working in an office. Pandemic be damned. San Francisco has a machine unlike any other. Tech is to San Francisco as finance is to New York. But tech is every business now. You can't start a new business in the United States without it being a technology-enabled company. And that machine exists in a very, very special capacity here. And the wheels have been started back in motion under the auspices of artificial intelligence in a very major way in San Francisco. And once those start going, they move. And the populace comes back and the growth and the healing happens. So we're very, very bullish on the next 10 years from San Francisco. We took our lumps, we're coming back.
Yeah, could you say any more about, I know you have this fund, how quickly you hope to be buying more buildings? Like, are you feeling like this is the moment in time, or are you going to be spreading this out over many years?
This is the moment in time. We've got to make sure that we see the right opportunities and that they make sense. And it's a challenge competing for buildings. It certainly is. A lot of questioning that you have to do to go through that process. But we would like to be placing a significant amount of capital over just the next few years. Other markets, I think, are actually further back. I think that there's bottoms still for other markets to hit because they didn't experience the drastic fall that San Francisco did, and they're still trying to come to terms with the devaluation of their real estate. So in that way, San Francisco is actually ahead of the game and poised for growth. And that's, I think, due in part side by side to, again, the underpinnings of the market here, which are unique to San Francisco, which is a technology market like nowhere else.
Even if the prices are lower, you still need, tens of millions of dollars to buy these buildings. So who's putting up that money and why are they doing it?
We've had more collaborative conversations with our counterparts than I think I've ever remembered before. And that's due to the challenges, not that we're just facing on like a capital raising side, but broadly speaking, and we're coming together to sort of plan and execute is really meaningful. When it comes to debt and equity, you really have to put them into different tranches. Because while they're both part of the capital stack for these investments, they operate in fundamentally different ways.
Hmm.
Uh, the individuals and the companies that are placing debt are concerned with risk, and equity is concerned with upside and outcomes.
If you had Daniel Lurie's ear to say this is what you need to do, or the board's ear, what would you tell them needs to happen in order to make change come more quickly?
We need to rewrite the city charter and the planning code. We need to remove a lot of the restrictions that currently exist. You should not have to be venture backed or independently wealthy to open a bar in San Francisco.
Mm.
San Francisco has limited the capabilities of small business owners through layers of regulation over the course of decades that has been nothing short of disastrous. And so I think that really a peel back, a lot of really well-intentioned legislation got passed with really demonstrably bad impacts.
How is the experience working in San Francisco different from Miami?
I mean, it's night of day because in Miami you have a lot of as of right to build what you want to build, and we don't. Miami doesn't demonize building housing, which allows for a lot more people to be housed affordably. And that's like a really, while it's a politically charged statement again, it's pretty directly understood. If you have more housing, housing costs less. Uh,
Hmm.
and so that's celebrated. And this is again where I feel like we fail as a city, and we don't need to. Um, Miami does not have a homelessness problem. Miami does not have a fentanyl problem, and the streets of Miami are clean and safe to walk on. Miami does not have the budget of San Francisco. It doesn't have the enterprise of San Francisco. Why is that happening here? And these are questions that have, I think, Occam's razors direct answers to, and directly linked to policy failures. San Francisco is the most expensive dollar per square foot place to do construction, not in the country, but in the world, second to Tokyo. And that's not because we're offering great union benefits to blue collar workers. That's due to collusion and theft. And
Mm.
it's completely unfettered in this city, and has been so for years. And we bring it up from time to time in conversations about when we see that a bathroom costs several $1 million to build, but we
Yeah.
don't keep it. But it's pretty easy for any of us that build buildings to go into the line items and see where that's taking place.
Like at what point in the process?
Multiple points in the process. Um, One, it's on the markup on goods, which go through several layers. Um, I was just in Guangzhou, China, to meet with lighting manufacturers, and I can buy lights directly from them. And not a lot of developers will do this. I can buy lights directly from them for $20. These same lights I would buy in the United States for 400.
Mm.
There's not $400 of blue collar American labor going into those lights.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we paying so
The
much?
same lights that are being made in China.
And so and there's a lot of costs that have been buried here, and that's because there's been, when the tide is high, there's been the ability to sort of pilfer and to build so much into the cost into construction budgets. And now that the tide is receding, we need to see those costs come down. Otherwise, we're going to see even more tertiary labor lose their jobs. And it's important to us and people like us to keep those folks employed. It's really meaningful for us to be thinking about as San Franciscans, because those costs of construction creates real constraints in what we can actually have and build in our city. Every company should make money, and the guys turning the rent should definitely make their money, but it needs to be reasonable, and it can't prevent the growth of San Francisco.